Hey y'all, welcome to my channel, Rachel K Yoga. You have chosen a how-to yoga pose class today. This is where I'll guide you through a particular yoga posture, what kinds of variations we can adapt to that posture to make it the most comfortable and workable for you in the moment, and how we can use props from home to support the pose throughout your practice. Before we get started, please remember to subscribe to my channel, share with your family and friends. Really appreciate it. Let's keep growing. You will need props today as noted. Before we get started, go look around for these things. A blanket or two from your couch maybe, or your kid's bed, one that can be rolled up or folded easily. And then if you have blocks, that's great. If you have a thick book like the one I found here, amazing. Bolster is also ideal. Otherwise, go look for some bed pillows. Memory foam is ideal. However, if you have more squishy ones, just grab a few of them. Once you've gathered them all up, then let's move on to the class. See you over there. Okay, so let's begin with seated meditation, specifically the pose Sukhasana or easy pose, which might be easy for some and not so easy for others. It's the cross-legged position that we always see for meditation. Usually you favor one leg being in front or the other, and as you're practicing with doing a seated meditation, maybe you can do what I've been doing lately, which is putting the leg I don't normally like to put in front as the main one going there. Otherwise, if you're just beginning, find whatever's comfortable with that. So if this pose is something that you need a little bit more support with to get into, those of us who might need a lot of support would mean that we might need to be sitting in a chair. And I have another class I'm going to have available for you that shows different types of postures we can do with a chair. Otherwise, if we can come on down to the ground, we can do some other ways of supporting this posture, especially because a big part of when we're meditating is that we want to keep a tall and long spine. Keeping ourselves going directly over the hips and having soft shoulders, soft belly. And that can be difficult in some ways if you don't have some of these supports. So I'm now seated in hero pose, which is another way you can meditate. And after a while, maybe it's not so easy to just sit on your heels and the tops of your feet into the mat. You could take blankets, of which I found one of my children's blankets that you can just fold up, or a couch blanket. And one thing to make it easier would be to just put the blanket down and sit on it. And maybe that already helps you quite a bit. Now I feel myself leaning back a little bit. So another thing that you want to be aware of is that you want your hips to be a little bit higher over your knees. So maybe bring your knees down past the blanket and then just have your feet and part of your legs on the blanket. So then it's easier to have the hips higher and then therefore to hold your spine tall. You could also take a blanket, roll it up, put it behind your legs. Maybe that is supportive, and it might be all the way up to your knees. I can feel like for me, maybe I'd actually rather it a little lower, going more towards my glute and the back of my calves. And that gives me that lift of my hips, the tilt forward, so I can easily hold my spine tall. Now this feels pretty nice. So this could be another way to have a seated meditation. Moving into one last thing that we can do, which is to use a bolster or a pillow from your bed. Maybe a memory foam pillow, or maybe a couple of stacked, more fluffy pillows. If they sink down a lot, then you might want to stack pillows. So you just come to simply straddle your bolster, feet relaxing behind you, sitting down onto it. Now, depending on how much the pillow sinks down, even my own bolster, I could feel that maybe I want to elevate my hips a little more, so I'm even going to put a blanket underneath my bum on the bolster. And that gives me a little bit more elevation. Okay? And you could even, if you have all kinds of lots of blankets and props, put the blanket underneath your feet again with the bolster there as well. Okay, that's hero pose version of doing your seated meditation. And now I want to get into what we talked about at the beginning, which is Sukhasana. That's the main seated posture we're looking for. If you have gotten deep into your practice or you're looking to getting deeper into it and you want to meditate more, a meditation pillow, such as this one, could be very nice. And with this one, there is like buckwheat inside that you can remove and make it either firmer or softer. The idea is I have it a little bit higher up here with all of the filling and then a little softer here. So I have that tilt forward that allows me to be more comfortable, to hold my tall spine and lean my knees down. So you can see me facing forward. I'll show you facing to the side how it looks. You can see that I'm trying to kind of lean forward into it and allow all the filling to fill up in the back and support me. And finally, I'll show it the back. Okay, and you can just adjust as you need to. Maybe you want to scoot a little more onto it. Take your time to figure it out, especially if you're going to be meditating for some time. And in the same way that we can use a meditation pillow, we can use 1 or 2 blankets. I find that usually it's a little bit easier to roll them up, almost like a little hot dog, take it under the sit bones. Maybe the other blanket comes underneath your legs and ankles, especially if it feels sore, you have a really hard surface. So I'll turn to face forward and show you there. I personally am feeling that this blanket is not high enough. I'll tell you that. So I might add another one, but I'm just going to show the idea of the rolled blanket, and you just notice if you need a little bit more elevation so that you're leaning forward, and then you have that comfortable blanket underneath your ankles and knees. If you have the pillow or the bolster, again, just bring it right underneath. This one works quite nice, and this one having a little more give is okay, because if you just lean onto the front edge of it here, then it'll kind of tilt you forward in that way. So that's a nice option for your seated meditation. These are more comfortable pillows, soft versions of doing this, and you could start getting into blocks, whether you use a foam one like this or a cork. And a lot of people have different feelings and opinions about this. This one I can sometimes find to be a little hard on my sit bones and glutes, so I maybe would choose the foam, but it's kind of all based on what you have. Now, I think that with this blanket and pillow option, it's a lot easier at home to find alternatives because you have bed pillows, you have couch pillows and blankets. Blocks, I think you've maybe heard a lot of teachers say, you could use a thick book. And with that, I started thinking, well, what kind of thick book are people going to have? So I started looking around in my own house and realized that it is really rather challenging. But maybe with a book like this, it could work. So I happened to find this one. It's like a children's nursery book. If you have encyclopedias anymore, which I think I remember having as a kid, we try it out. I haven't done this before, actually. So let's see. Yeah, I think that it's not going to be as easy for us at home maybe to find something like this. So I just wanted to to demonstrate that, because I think that then if you're really getting into yoga and you want some of these props to help support your practice, which I just really, really support personally, then maybe the first thing you invest in is the blocks. And they don't have to be that expensive either. And I believe the foam can tend to be a little cheaper, cork a little more eco-friendly, but you can have a look online and see what you can find. So there are some examples of the ways that you can position your body in a seated meditation. I really hope that this has been helpful and useful to you. Let me know if you have any questions in the comments. And if you liked this class, this style of class, please press the like button and leave me a comment. Let me know. Let me know if there's other postures that you're interested in getting this kind of breakdown on how to make variations of the pose and how to use your props from home. I've got a list made already, but I'd love to add some more in. I'll see you again soon. Take care.